right, hey everyone, welcome to D-Pod. We got a very special episode today. It is the first time we're featuring non-old people. Oh wait, I just looked at Jason and sorry.
hey, what am I, chocolate?
So we have Jason Guba and Matthew Chang, who are seniors, or fourth years as we like to call them at UChicago, here in our ministry. And they are here today to talk about their experience with senior retreat. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
All right, welcome to the podcast. So,
just to be clear, when I looked at you, I was actually surprised that we're the first students that you recorded. I thought you would have gotten like the postgrads already.
I see. Oh, this is not because you thought I was, and never mind.
But you are old, just so we're on the same page here.
No comment.
All right, so why don't we just start with a little bit of an intro, okay? I know everyone here, I guess at UChicago, knows you, but still, we're going to introduce you. So why don't you guys tell us an interesting fact about yourself, and preferably something that I don't already know about you, so I learned something new as well. Put you on the spot.
You had to do it to us like this, huh?
Okay, I'll start. My name's Jason. Like DP said, I'm a fourth year. One interesting fact that DP probably doesn't know, I once did a headstand on a bowling alley and I pushed the ball and I got a strike.
What? When did that happen?
This was in high school.
What? That's crazy. Do you have a video of that?
Why were you doing this?
I don't know. We were high school students. We just did dumb things.
Yeah,
Okay.
What if I asked that to you about things that you've done?
I'm bored. I haven't done anything.
Oh, okay. All right. What's your fun fact, Matthew? Surprise me.
I'm trying to buy some time here, all right? I feel like you kind of know everything about my life so far.
Well, dang, I know everything there is to know about Matthew.
Everything interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, why don't you just give us any random fact then?
Any random fact. All right. This is my tried and true. I have a phobia of sea creatures. So,
And why is that?
you know, it's a variety of childhood experiences that have just it's not palatable to me.
Palatable. Wow.
Palatable. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
Palatable?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
nice.
sounds more correct.
Solid. Thank you, Matthew. So these are our seniors in our ministry, and it's kind of cool because they just got back from senior retreat, which is always a really, really impactful time for a lot of people, and I have good memories from my senior retreat as well. So could you guys just tell us, like, what is senior retreat? What was that like? Where was it? Just for people who have no idea, like, what that entails. Okay, so Matthew, why don't you start?
Okay, yeah, I guess I will. It's this yearly annual retreat that we have that's basically only seniors and maybe some new grads if they missed it the previous year. I don't know. But it's aimed towards seniors, basically, where you get to meet and greet and deepen connections with some of your peers from other campuses of Gracepoint. And the messages and content is aimed largely towards the future, given that you're going to be graduating, hopefully, and transitioning out of college into the working life, hopefully, and, you know, how your faith will affect that and how you should handle the process and just kind of wisdom about the working world.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Jason?
Yeah, so senior retreat was held in HB in Alameda, where if you don't know where HB is, it's the, I guess, headquarters of Gracepoint Ministries.
Yeah, that's right.
It just feels wrong saying headquarters for some reason.
Yeah, it does feel a little weird.
The main building.
Yeah, I mean, it's the main building where things happen, so yeah.
But yeah, it was a time of, just what Matthew was saying, connecting with peers. For some of us, reconnecting with other peers that we've met through other trips, such as SLT or Vision, which were domestic mission trips that were held this past summer for a lot of different campuses in various regions. And yeah, it was just also a time of like hearing from God's word. There was a lot of team activities, lots of good food, and just. We also had a Q&A session with Pastor Ed and Kelly, which is always a good time.
It's always a good time, yeah. And I think everyone knows, but yeah, Pastor Ed and Kelly are, pastor's a senior pastor over all the Gracepoint kind of network of churches. So yeah, and if I remember correctly, there were something like 215 seniors there.
That is what I was told.
Yeah, 215, and from Chicago, so there were you two, and then there's 7 from NU, I believe.
Yeah.
So 9 total, and then some of the staff, Kevin and Emily and Stefan went with you guys, and so, yeah, that's awesome. Like 215 seniors across all of Grace Point coming together to worship and get to know each other and think about the future together. So, can you tell me, like, from the retreat, what's something memorable that happened, something that 10 years from now you'll probably still remember? So, for example, like from my senior retreat, the lasting memory that I have that has actually nothing to do with, I guess, the content, which was also really, impactful, but is that we were actually at Sierra Lodge, which is a lodge up by Lake Tahoe in California, and it was our Berkeley Pier class because we didn't really have many church plants back then. But we got snowed in. I think there was, if in my memory, there was like 6 feet of snow that weekend.
Wow.
Because when we came outside, we could not see the cars anymore. Like they were gone.
You were able to go
they were not. Yeah, yeah. So we had to like dig ourselves out. We had to dig these trenches. And on the last day, instead of having whatever final session we were going to have, basically all the brothers went outside and we dug all the cars out for like 4 hours. And so that was like so fun. It was like amazing. And then we got to use this like snowblower thing, and it was really fun. So that's what many years later, that's the first picture that comes to mind when I think of senior retreats. So Is there something like that for you guys?
I will let Jason go first this time.
So one thing that was unexpected but was also kind of memorable was we were singing praise after Pastor Daniel's message on Sunday. And as we were singing, the lights completely cut off. Apparently a fire had like
it killed the power grid.
Yeah, exactly. It killed the power grid.
A power outage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so there was a power outage for like a couple hours, and then everyone was just like, was that meant to happen? And others tried to sing the song, but there weren't no lyrics, so people were just kind of like humming to the tune.
There was no try there. It happened.
But then that kind of like kickstarted the whole like Q&A session and outdoor campfire time with Pastor Ed and Kelly, and that was really fun.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, quickly just adjusting plans,
Yeah.
And yeah, so we heard about the power outage because later that day when you were having the family time, which family time is this, time where basically different people go up on stage and they perform, and it's like a way that kind of, it's like a family, like you call up like, hey, this cousin to go and perform something, it's sort of like that feel. And so then we were trying to all call in for that, like because we want to watch, but then the system that streams out wasn't working because something got messed up during the power outage. So then we were like frantically clicking like, oh, how come it's not refreshing? But then, later on we were able to watch you guys dance. So that was awesome.
Oh, dang.
Yes. So we saw you. We were cheering for you guys from afar.
Thank you, Minnesota, for that performance.
Yes, it was awesome. What about you, Matthew?
What about me? Oh,
Yes.
I'm not double dipping either. All right. I don't know. We learned how to play Dana Ball.
Oh,
First night. That was pretty fun.
Where did you guys stay?
Yeah, we were at Ray and Sheehan's house.
Okay, so you got hosted by Ray and Sheehan, who planted out here in Northwestern, but they're serving back in Berkeley now. So you stayed at their house.
Yeah.
Do they have a Fisher Price hoop?
No. So for those who don't know, Dana Ball is named after Dana House, which is one of the Berkeley Single Bros houses, and the game is basically there is a hoop of some kind and a ball, like a volleyball-ish ball of some kind, and there are teams, and you just get the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, that's the only rules.
by any means necessary.
Yeah.
There was no hoop, but we did have those like seat cushions. So we used one of those.
Well, how does that?
It has like the kind of slope, right, for the contours, the shape, and so the ball just kind of.
So you just have to get the ball onto that thing.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's really interesting. Wow.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good
Seems
time.
like good late night fellowship.
Yeah, I was really bad at it.
Oh, yeah.
We had just gotten back from a late night In and Out.
Oh, I see. Yeah, man, I have so many stories about Dana Ball that I probably am not going to share on this podcast. But
I heard it's banned now.
yeah, I mean, it's not banned. I mean, it's just
There's like a dent in the wall or something, right?
it's an inherently dangerous game because it's very physical and it's basically an excuse. Like we call it Dana Ball, but it's basically wrestling, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's just like So, anyways, we had a lot of fun with that our senior year for sure. When I actually used to live at Dana House, so. One of the original perpetrators of Dana Ball. So, All right. Well, okay. So those are some memorable moments. Now, kind of let's talk about, like either the messages or the content, right? Because a big part of any of our retreats, right? Like, along with the fun and the relationship building is kind of hearing from God's word and seeing, okay, how is God addressing me, right? Depending on what I am going through. And like you were mentioning earlier, like senior retreat, it's special because all the seniors are thinking about the future, right? Here, a lot of people, kind of came to our church, became Christian here, or made some serious rededication, within the kind of safe confines of college. You got to kind of live that out, but now it's the real world, right? And the possibilities are endless. And here you are, now you have to decide what you're going to live for. And so in that way, it feels like, I don't know, senior retreat sometimes feels like it's a big deal. So I'm just curious, like, how did God speak to you two during this time? Was there a particular message or like a testimony that stuck out to you?
So I guess to just give a brief overview of some of the content we engaged with during senior retreat, we went over Psalm 73. We went over kind of like a brief history of Acts 2 and how it applies to our church. And we did some Lord of the Rings Bible study, which we watched Lord of the Rings, and Pastor Ed would sometimes interrupt to talk about the Christian themes that was intended by the author during those times. And we also heard a message from Pastor Daniel. Matt, do you remember what that was on?
That was the one about priorities and the two masters.
Right. And then for the final day, we talked about Kingdom Cause and Crew, which I heard was coined by Greg Steer. And through that, we watched some video testimonies. We actually watched the Rise 2020 testimony.
What's your own testimony?
That featured the Chicago Bros and Jeff B and I. So that was kind of awkward to watch.
You've been in that situation multiple times where you're sitting through your own testimony.
They were like, what are you taking away from this? And I was like, yeah, Jason, what are we learning from this?
And we also had testimony from Noah, which was very impactful. I think it dealt with like a lot of like conceptions about the church and I guess kind of like some of the vision that the staff have for us and how things aren't necessarily black and white in our church and there's like a lot of gray areas. So yeah, I think overall there was a lot that we were personally addressed by. I think for me personally, what I really took away from Psalm 173 Psalm 173, but Psalm 73 is verse 26. It says that my flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And I think one question that I personally really had to wrestle with during senior retreat is Christ going to be enough for me? Because I think coming into senior retreat, I was super hyper focused on like academics and graduating. So I think there's a lot of implications with like job and like career. And I think just really wanting to maximize my potential, especially since I have the privilege of being at an elite university like UChicago. But I think at the end of the day, what I really had to wrestle with was, amidst all like the trials and tribulations, is Christ going to be enough for me? And am I going to trust God's plan for my life rather than like, I guess, trying to pursue my own like flesh and desires?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're in the middle of all the stress, it just seems like that's all you can see, It's like, I mean, here's school and here's this enemy that is UChicago that is preventing me from having this thing that I want called graduation or whatever it is, right? However that works out for you. And then sometimes that's all we can see, right? And then maybe through times like this, you get to kind of zoom out and see once again, wait, that's not all there is. There's God. And what does that mean for my life?
Yeah.
And like maybe I should not be as anxious as I am, right? I mean, I still need to do the school thing, but like you were reading, right? My flesh and my heart may fail. I mean, that's going to happen for all of us, right? Like we're all going to die one day. Our flesh and our hearts are going to fail, but God is going to continue to be the strength of my heart and my portion forever, no matter what happens. So yeah, appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, what about for you, Matt?
Yeah, I think for me, I felt very convicted by the message about priorities that Jason mentioned. It really focused on, there's that Bible verse that goes, you can have either God as your master or money as your master, but you can't have both. And that's something, we've heard a lot in just our normal sermons and Bible studies, and it intuitively makes a lot of sense. But senior retreat, the message there kind of zoomed in on that and what it would really look like practically by using this image of maximization, which was focused on like, okay, so you have like a solar system, right? And there's something in the middle, the star, and then everything else is orbiting around it. And that's going to be your master. And so I think for me, it's pretty easy to be like, oh yeah, God is my master. But what does that actually look like in your life? Like, are you actually managing to successfully live that out? And so it's not like, oh yeah, what is your master? But like something is in the center of that solar system, right? And so it's a question of what that is. And you can tell based on, what are you sacrificing and to what end are you sacrificing that for? And I think that's a very, very stark and easy to visualize example. There's never a time where it's like, oh, that's just not relevant right now. Like there's always something in the center of your life.
Yeah.
And you have to constantly keep an eye on that and kind of monitor how you're living your life and what that looks like. And I thought that was very relevant, especially since, we're graduating, right? And our lives are going to expand past academics and graduation, and just so many more things are going to enter that solar system that it's going to be very chaotic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really good because, I think part of what I'm hearing is that, it's one thing to say, God is Lord and Master over my life, but another thing we say often is that our hearts are idol factories. Like we just generate things that we want apart from God all the time, right? And so constantly being mindful of that, right? Okay, man, is there something that has recently been taking over my heart, instead of God, right? And that's the question that we need to always be asking, right? Especially in your senior year, and then going forward after that too. It's not like that goes away, right? Like, even for me, I've been Christian for many years now or whatever, but like I see my heart is an idol factory, right? Like I want things apart from God, and and it's a matter of identifying that more quickly, I think, than before. So, all right, well, let me ask you this. Okay, what's something about because I think that part of what senior retreat or kind of any of these like Gracepoint-wide gatherings does is sort of it gives you a picture into the larger church that we're a part of, right? Because, obviously all you guys mostly see is Chicago here and the, 40, 50 something people that we have here. So is there something you learned about our church? Because I think that I have actually never experienced what you guys experience in terms of coming from a really, like as a student, coming from a really small church plant too. Because, I was always at the largest church, right? Yeah. So anything else that kind of struck you about being with kind of I know it wasn't like 1,000-person event, but it's a good group. It's like a 250-person event where you're getting to know people from all over the nation. So
I think I was just kind of reminded of the blessing of having a church. And I think we hear a lot of stories where I think pastors are kind of at awe about our church and like how, I guess, the scalability of our church, because it's kind of crazy to think that we have like, thousands of postgrads all over the nation trying to start up a church. And I think it's kind of evident based on like the different amount of students that we're seeing from different campuses. And I think for me, I was just kind of reminded that, wow, I'm not trying to do Christian life alone. Like there's other senior students that are struggling with their own personal, worries about post-grad, but they still want to try to live a life following Jesus. And I mean, that's not to say that most seniors feel that way, because I did have a conversation with someone towards the end of the retreat where they were kind of, they were unsure if they were going to stick around. I mean, there are seniors like that, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think overall, I was just kind of reminded of, just the relationships that we have in this church. It's a huge blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I think I'll actually piggyback off of that. I think we hear a lot about how the relationships and the fellowship that we have with our fellow church members is very integral to our faith, as well as just how we live things out. And, part of the question is like, okay, well, if you're always moving around and changing which church you're at and who you're with, then doesn't that make it hard to form relationships? And the answer is usually like, no, right? Because you all have that kind of central faith. And I guess I really experienced that during this senior retreat. I'm really talkative and chatty, but I'm also really bad at getting to know new people. So it was just really easy to talk with everyone. I tried making it a point to sit with nobody that I knew for each individual meal. And even so, there was still a ton of people that just, I was able to talk with, pick up conversations and hold them with for the entire, hour plus break. And yeah, I guess this might also be because UChicago is like very much not like this, but everyone had a very, it was easy to talk with them. It was like they had social ability.
That's funny. Yeah.
Am I hearing UChicago students aren't social?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to the average college student out there in the world.
Outstandingly,
Okay.
No, but yeah, I think part of, I think, Matt, your experience is that I think it's easy you find that it's easy to connect with other Christians because you actually have a lot in common. And, it turns out that actually you share your worldview and so that then immediately like barriers get lowered, right? Because you're sort of like, oh, like I kind of understand where you're coming from. And then, we don't have to like dance around each other. Like who are you? And, so then immediately there's kind of a meeting of the minds and a meeting of the hearts. And so I've definitely experienced that. Like, our post-grad population in our network is at the size now where there's plenty of people that I don't know, at any given gathering that I go to. And so, but then when I talk to them, it's like, wow, like I don't know you, but then I kind of know you. Like, I kind of get where you're coming from. I've had that experience too. So, all right, cool. Let's land the plane now. Okay. So kind of summing up everything you experienced at the senior retreat, what's an advice or like an exhortation that you would give to your pre-retreat self? And I guess this is also kind of combined with like what's like you guys are seniors in our ministry and we have younger ones, and so as you think about them also, like what is the advice or exhortation that you would want to give them, and maybe you can combine those into one awesome piece of advice or exhortation.
I feel like that's expecting a little bit much of us, of me at least.
You got this. I believe in you guys. I believe in Jesus, and he will pull through here.
Take a quick 30 seconds to do a quick prayer. All right, Jason, you want to go first, or?
Oh man, so I think the advice or exhortation I would give to my pre-retreat self was, man, don't take your academics so seriously. I mean, like, so this is coming from like a background where like I was devoting like every single like minute, and like honestly, like I felt like I was like kind of like sacrificing time building relationships just so I can, I don't know, like focus on like that one assignment or get that like one reading done. But I think like, but yeah, I guess that's why I would tell myself, because especially since I know that I was kind of idolizing graduation and like trying to like get a job, that I was kind of like super like tunneled vision into like this one objective, and it didn't really leave room for God in my own heart. So yeah, I think just not being so focused on academics that like you're so like you're not focusing on other areas in your life that you want to grow in.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like people should just stop with academics or something, but it's sort of a matter of
what you prioritize, what Matt was saying.
Yeah, and like the kind of inability to do anything else, right? Because you're so wrapped up in this one thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'll as usual, springboard off of Jason's great point and make a slightly tangential side point. I think something that was really hammered in and that, is really central as a whole to our church is that the church is first and foremost the group of people, and it's a community. And a big part of Christian living is, you do life together. And I don't know, to live life together, to have them help support you and build you up and for you to give back in that way, you have to actually engage with that community. So kind of like Jason said, yeah, I think to really, I don't know how to put this, get the most out of, I guess, the church community, or to really build up that base relationship and help build up those relationships and ultimately help build up your own faith as a result. You do have to spend time with these people, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, again, this might just kind of be the UChicago in me that this is supposed to be advice for someone, but like, yeah, if you're not feeling particularly, spoken to at a given point, or your faith is feeling a little weak, or you have some doubts or questions, like, it's a community of people, you can talk about that kind of thing.
So I think my overall, advice I would give to those younger than me is to really hone in on those relationships that you're building during your time here with our church. I think it's kind of a beautiful picture that we have at our church, where a lot of our churches, or a lot of our relationships, are based on covenantal relationships. Like, you and me, we're both at this elite university. We're struggling. We're also trying to faithfully follow Jesus while repelling all of Satan's lies and deceptions from the world. And I think I was just kind of reminded of how this military term we coined battle buddies, where we're trying to do life together. We're trying to hold each other accountable. And yeah, I think the reality is you don't get a picture of that kind of relationships outside of post-grad. This is speaking in the secular sense. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's just a beautiful picture we have of just having these covenantal relationships. And I think that was one thing for me personally that I was reminded of, because just my relationship with Matt, I know sometimes we don't really get along.
Whoa,
but,
whoa!
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's news to me.
But but yeah, this sense of being loyal to Matt and trying to be there for one another as we try to do Christian life, and just for me learning how to love and love him as a brother, mm-hmm. as a fellow Christian brother, rather than just a friend.
Yeah, is
just something that's I think I was just reminded of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing, guys. Any questions for me? About anything?
Anything?
I don't know. Just for fun.
For funsies.
Just for fun. I mean, I have you here, and I'll give you the floor.
What was one question you always wanted to ask Pastor Ed and Kelly during your time in undergrad? Or I guess what was one question that you asked Pastor Ed and Kelly that you really wanted an answer to?
Oh man. Wow, I'm actually blinking out. You stumped me. Dang
it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What is a question that I had for Pastor and Kelly when I was a student? It was probably something like, how come we do certain things a certain way? Or, I'm naturally kind of a rebellious person, actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just don't say it very much because I don't say the things that I think, because I'm very practiced in not saying it, because I also had really, really strict parents.
I see.
Very true. I see. Yeah.
There's a difference between someone's rebellion and their ability to quiet that voice. So. But then a lot of people were like that. So then a lot of people asked really good questions during Q&A. So then I never felt like I don't think I ever submitted a question to Q&A. I think that's why I'm having a hard time with this question, because I don't think I ever submitted anything.
I didn't either, so.
I always just benefited from other people's really good questions. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my answer. My answer is that I didn't ask anything. Cool.
All right.
All right. Nice. Thanks, guys. Well, that's it for D-Pod today. And we'll do the outro music. Let's go.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening to our latest D-Pod episode. And yeah, we'll probably start featuring more students soon. All right. That's it. Bye-bye.